Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, no problem.
Thank you. Rob is a musician, songwriter from Nottingham. A lot of his music's been described along the lines of kind of soul, R&B, pop music. I suppose a lot of elements from kind of, the traditional sound of those styles of music and kind of more modern stuff. Yeah, that's a bit of background. Maybe what's your take on it? Like, how would you describe your music, Rob?
Yeah, I think you've described it pretty well. I'd say, yeah, it's definitely R&B influenced, my music, and pop focused. And yeah, just kind of, I'd say it's like quite narrative based as well. Like a lot of the time I'm writing stories about experiences or nights out or whatever things. It's generally like about events and things that happen and the way that I see things, if that makes sense.
Definitely, yeah. So I want to kind of talk about what got you interested in music in the first place. Go back to kind of the beginning of you first hearing music. What were your interests? What kind of music first gripped you?
I was really into, and still am into, I really love lyrics. That's like my main thing. I'd say that my interests across genres are quite, at one point I was really into rock music when I was a teenager, sort of like rock pop stuff like Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance and all that stuff, 30 Seconds to Mars. Then I was really into R&B music. My mum was really into R&B. My dad is really into sort of like indie, like acoustic, songwritery music. And so for me, those two influences have sort of led me to make the kind of music that I make, which is I'd say there's a really strong songwriter influence and there's this sort of R&B pop leaning feel to the actual sound. So yeah, all of that. I grew up listening to what I think is quite a wide range of stuff in terms of, a lot of Motown and soul stuff, and then jazz and a lot of indie rock and rap and everything and everything, really. Everything and everything, anything and everything.
It still works.
Yeah, I think like my favorite music is when you feel that there's more than one influence and not really much of a purist. Like I wouldn't necessarily say that like my favorite music has been the stuff that's like pure rap or pure rock or pure. I like to feel, and that's why I liked Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance, because they had pop influence, but they also had R&B leaning sound, and rap and like hip hop beats, like to some of Fall Out Boy's stuff, and I just love that. So yeah, that's me.
Definitely. Was there always like an interest? Were you always interested in making your own stuff, or does that sort of come later? Have you always been wanting to write songs and make your own music?
Yeah, I think when I started first singing. So when I first started singing, I was probably about 5-6 years old, and basically like loved to sing, sang all the time, much to the annoyance of my family who I lived with, but sang all the time. And when I was probably like 8 or 9, I started like writing songs, but I didn't play any instruments, so I'd like write lyrics and sing them and come up with my own melodies and stuff. And then when I got to secondary school, I still didn't play an instrument. Well, I started learning the clarinet, which I can't really write songs with, but and I wanted to. I had all of this stuff. Like I had so much going on at school. Like school was a bit of a challenging time for me, and for most people, school is a challenging time. And I just had all of this stuff that I wanted to talk about that I didn't really feel like I could talk about. And so I started writing poems, and I had like a whole book. I remember it was like a leopard print jotter from W.H. Smith. That had like not leopard, cheetah, sorry, it had like a big cheetah on the front, and inside I just wrote all these poems. And then much later, when I was about 14, I made friends with a guy at a school called Richard. And Richard was so into rock music, and that was sort of my gateway into rock music. He was so into metal, rock, proper heavy stuff, and I love Richard. And like his energy was so great, and he just loved music. And so it'd be like there were times when he ran to school, and I'd see him running across the playground. And we're 14, so 14 it's not cool to be running anywhere.
Yeah.
Running like, mate, you gotta hear this new album, you gotta hear this new thing. And he really got me into rock music because he was so passionate about it. And he played the guitar. So then I started writing lyrics, and he was like playing guitar, and we sort of worked that way. And then he bought me a chord book for James Morrison's first album, which was called Undiscovered. And in a chord book you have like the lyrics and then the chords for the guitar above each bit where it gets played. But you also have the charts, which shows you where you can put your fingers to make the guitars. I imagine you know this already, but just for anybody watching who doesn't know what a chord chart is, yeah. That's what it is. And so I basically, started using those chords, sort of taught myself the guitar using that book. And then went to ultimateguitar.com and started learning how to play loads of other songs and taught myself chords that way. And then went back and got all these poems and started turning the poems into music. And that was kind of how it all got. That was me, away and truly.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. And I mean, now, so if you fast forward to sort of now, you're an established sort of songwriter and artist. How does the kind of process around producing a tune for you work? Like, is it all you obviously play instruments, you obviously sing, that's the kind of main aspect as far as I know, but like, what's the process?
So it's a little bit different every time, but generally the process is it will be me sat with either the guitar or I'm looking around the room now, the guitar or the keyboard, and just kind of playing around with chords. Sometimes, I guess generally most of the time it starts with the chords. Like I'll just play around with the chords and I'm singing, and I'll just be singing things that don't really make sense, just words, things that don't really make sense, just singing anything. And then every so often I'll say a line, or I'll be, in my feelings or whatever it is. I'll be in the vibe of whatever the song is. And then I'll go, that was a good line. And then it will remind me of something, or maybe I'll go into it already thinking about what I'm going to write about. And then, just start writing. But generally I'm looking for, I think the thing that makes me go, I'm going to write this song is hearing the hook, like singing something that makes me go, that's wicked. Or accidentally singing a lyric that makes me go, that sums up exactly what I'm trying to say. And then from there, turning it into the whole song. And then once and that'll get voice memoed on my phone. And then from there, it pretty much sits there. It sits there for a long time. Just like lots and lots of voice notes that are unrealized as of this moment.
But that's good. That's a good way of documenting it, Does that process, does that happen quite a lot then when you'll just kind of go, right, I need to get that down or whatever in any kind of raw way?
Yeah, most of the time it's voice notes. Voice notes are so quick and, I can't be doing with, because the thing is, most of the time I'll sit and like sometimes you sit down you're playing the guitar while you're waiting for a WeTransfer to download, or you're waiting for, sometimes it's an app. You're not deliberately sitting down to write. So then you're like, let me record that quick. Like there are some artists out there that permanently have their recording set up, or they have a studio, or they're just really good at keeping it in their brain, setting up their recording stuff. That's not me. Like I have to, sometimes I'm scared to actually move from the seat. Like you sing it and you go, where's my phone? press record.
That's the thing. It can go, yeah. I mean, there's producers out there. I think I can't remember who it was. It was someone like Jay Dilla, or a hip hop producer, used to have a setup right by their bed. So if they're lying in bed, and an idea comes to them, it's there, So I understand that.
It's a hard. it's figuring out, I think, as an artist, where your ideas most likely hit and when you've got to capture them. Back when travel was a lot easier, I used to travel by train all the time, by bus all the time, places, and I love traveling that way because and it's like coffee shops as well. I have the same kind of vibe in a coffee shop. It's like you're in an environment where there's lots of people, but there's no single focus. So you're not like at a gig or at a party or at a wedding. You know, it's like, it's not you're all there to focus. You're not in the cinema. You know, you're not all there to focus on something. It's like everyone's there for different reasons. There's loads of different noise going on. There's loads of different little things, and you can kind of be in the room and not in the room at the same time. And those are the environments most of the time where I'll think of something and I'll go, oh, that I want to write about that. Or that's a good lyric. Or you'll overhear somebody talking about something and, you know, you kind of, you wander off. And so for me, voice notes and always having, I have, in fact, let me see if I've got it. I've got this book. So all of the songs that I've been working on for my album are in this book, along with loads and loads and loads and loads of others. And basically, if I ever like come across a lyric or whatever, I'll just like write down the like little bits of the lyrics, or then when the song is finished, it looks more like that. I don't know if you can see that, but that is a hot mess.
Yeah. Oh wow.
That is like, it's like the idea, then crossed out, then rewritten, then it's horrible. And it's a bit like, I don't know if you remember GCSE English, where it's like you've got your blue book, your jotter, and then you've got another book to write it all up neat. Yeah, I have to then go to the next page and write it all up tidy, because that is anxiety inducing. And then the final thing that I do, which is, it's about quotes, because the thing for me that I find hits me hardest, I think what's really important as a songwriter is to be able to hit people with a single line. I mean, as you've probably discovered by now, I am a talker. Like, I will just talk forever, and sometimes never actually get to the point. And so the thing for me is, if you can take an experience or an idea or a point and distill it into something really clean and simple, or create a very strong image in a single line, that is what I think great songwriting is. If you can transport somebody in a single line, and that's the power that music has. I think we can move people through time. You can move people to different places. You can move them to different states of mind, turn them into people and make them think like people they've never been. And so what I have in the back of this book are quotes, which is like, some of them are like official quotes, like I'll be reading a book and I'll be like, oh, that's a really good quote, and we'll put that in my little book. Or sometimes it'll be just something that someone says in a conversation, and I'll be like, yes, that is truth. That's the truth. Let me write that down. Whatever it is, it goes straight in the book while I'm working on whatever I'm working on, whether it's an EP or an album or whatever. And the book is just filled, the back of the book is just filled here with just quotes from people, quotes from films, from books, from whatever I was digesting at the time. And that's because, not to use the quotes in the music, but when you're writing music, one of the hardest things to do is to stay motivated.
Definitely.
And so these quotes become like your Bible or your saving grace. You know, it's like when you're stuck, or when you just feel like, oh God, actually, I don't even know what it's really about anymore. Like this song or this thing I'm working on. You can go back to the quotes and there'll be something in there, I find, that kind of goes, oh yeah, I remember that day. I remember that quote. Okay, I'm back on track. Yeah. So
that's cool. So it sounds like, you know, as we were talking about a bit earlier, like your mind is constantly kind of on the job in a way. I mean, I know obviously music for a lot of people is a passion, and I'm sure it is for you. And it's just like, I suppose, like we were talking about, you know, it's quite difficult to switch off sometimes. This is like work, but it's also something you love. So like, do you find that's an issue for you at all? Has it ever got in the way in terms of, you know, being able to stop focusing on things?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as we were talking about before, I think the for creatives and for basically anybody who's self-employed in any form, there is a guilt, definitely a guilt that exists in having a break, in going on holiday, in saying that it's too much. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes you have such a high expectation of yourself that it's actually it's inhuman. The expectation is inhuman. It's not actually normal, the thing you're expecting of yourself. It took me years to learn how to be on holiday, how to actually just be there. The amount of times I would go on holiday and I'm on my phone every so often, checking Instagram, making sure that I've done some posts, making sure I've done the hashtags, making sure that I've, I don't know, sent that email and making sure I've done whatever. And actually, I've learned that I have to make a rule. I'm very rule driven. I'm very process driven, me. So I'm like, okay, before I go on holiday, I'm going to spend 2 days putting everything in place, telling everybody who needs to know that I'm going on holiday, doing everything I need to do to alleviate the guilt of not being available for 5 days, for 4 days, for 1 day. Sometimes I'm literally away for 1 day and I'm like, what did they text me? What did they? So, learning how to do that and then getting on the plane or getting in the car or going wherever I'm going for this break and turning the phone off, setting my email auto response or whatever, as you would if you worked in an office, you know, and just having the break. And what I've learned is not, I mean, it's not exactly groundbreaking. It's what everybody who's ever been on a holiday knows, is that you don't have to go on holiday. The amount of holiday you have doesn't have to be equal to the amount of days that you work. It's not like 7 days of work, 7 days holiday, but just any holiday that you have makes you so much more productive when you come back to work, and it makes you feel new, like you've got fresh energy. And that's something I've had to learn. I'm so glad that I learned that before COVID.
Yeah.
Because otherwise this period would have been a nightmare. I mean, it's not exactly a dream come true, but it's definitely a lot more manageable knowing how to go. Do you know what? Today, I haven't got loads of things to do, so I'm not going to make loads of things to do. I'm not going to stress myself out by going, oh, it feels weird that I'm not rehearsing for a gig. It feels weird that I'm not doing this thing or this thing or this thing. It's like learning how to go, do you know what? Maybe today you don't do anything. Maybe today's the day off. You know, it's like,
well, funnily enough, like I've kind of tried to steer away from talking about lockdown and things like that when I do these interviews, just because I don't want it to be everything that everyone sees all the time. But we've had quite an interesting discussion about it generally, I think, and like, you know, it's good to hear people's, you know, different methods of kind of trying to draw themselves away from things, in particular. And I think like it is something that kind of ties a lot of creatives together, is that tendency to just kind of stay within that world because you want to, but like you kind of have to rebel against that sometimes for your own health and stuff.
Totally. Well, I think the thing is, you know, it's the reason why the guilt exists is because you're working towards a dream, and you're also working towards something that loads of other people want, and other people want to be doing. And although I don't think the music industry, although it is sometimes framed this way, I don't think the music industry is directly competitive. I think it's competitive chart wise, you know, trying to sort of place on charts and things like that. But the point is that the music industry is a playground and there's room for everybody. So it's not about beating each other or being better than each other. It's kind of about learning how to make your thing work in that world, as with any business. So that's hard because there are times when your business isn't as productive or isn't making as much money for you. You know, maybe you have 2 months where you don't get as many gigs or you don't get as many streams or whatever. And it's not because you're not trying, it's just because that's just the way January was, you know, that's just the way that month was. And therefore, when you have a period that's busy, it feels good, but you don't dare have a holiday after that, even if you have the money to do it, even if you have the, because you're like, but I should save that money just in case my next month's a bit dry, or I just feel like things are moving now, and if I have a break, it's gonna all stop. And it's kind of like you have to learn that there is no perfect time to have a break. There's no perfect time. That moment's not coming. The day that someone goes, do you know what? Now's the time for a holiday. It's not happening, because you're the boss. You're the only person who can say that. And it isn't going to happen unless you start consciously doing it. And so,
Definitely.
you know, I think that's why that's like that.
So on that kind of that topic, like, do you still kind of manage everything yourself? Is that all done in-house, or do you work with other people?
So it's been a bit of a mix of things. I've had management, I've worked with management, and they've been great in different ways. I am totally pro team. I think it's really important that an artist brings in people that they trust when it's the right time, when they find the right people. But I don't think that an artist should put themselves in a position where they feel that they need it, where it's like, I need a producer, I need a publisher, I need a record deal, I need a manager, because it's a bit like people who say, I need a girlfriend or I need a boyfriend. It's like, well, no, you want the right boyfriend, you want the right producer, you want the right publisher. And it's important that you go into the industry, I think, and into your daily life, energizing the thing that you want, and then being open to receiving it and seeing it when you see it. Because otherwise, if you're just going, I want a manager, there's managers everywhere. There's publishers everywhere. There's record labels everywhere. There's loads of different ways to move forward in the industry. And although every single one of them has a place, not every single one of them is right for you. And you need to figure out, that's your job when you're figuring out your brand, what's right for you, what is working for your story or your look or your sound or your whatever.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I know what you mean. Like, you know, it's not always best to kind of go into it and be like, right, I want to achieve this. I want to have a manager. I want to do that. I mean, it's good to be driven, but, you know, it's different for everyone. I think that can overshadow like the music or what you know, your kind of intentions with the creative part of it. So, you know,
Yeah.
It's a difficult one. It's kind of a bit of both. But I think, like you say, you've got to be picky and do things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to talk a bit about how you've kind of, I suppose, grown in popularity from, you know, starting out. And obviously, I've seen you've got quite a list of like achievements and amazing gigs and festivals and stuff that you've done.
Yeah.
And also like how that kind of links in with Nottingham. Like, do you have any kind of musical involvement with the city, you know, in terms of like records, you know, recording the music or releasing the music, or any kind of relationship with Nottingham in what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I was brought up in Nottingham. I launched my first EP in Nottingham, which was called Parlor Tricks. I have launched every EP I ever did since in Nottingham. Always started in Nottingham anyway. And I have a really tight relationship with Nottingham. It's my favorite city to perform in, but that's not to put down any other cities, but it's my favorite because it's my hometown. And there's a vibe there that is very familiar. And there's something special about being able to perform in a Nottingham venue, because I grew up going into all those venues and watching the bands that I loved and the artists that I loved, and using the memory of those gigs to motivate myself to write music and motivate myself to be like, you know, one day you'll be at Rock City. One day you'll be at the Bodega. One day you'll be at Rescue Rooms. And getting to a point now, having played those venues now, having done Splendor Festival, that journey is it's like the 14-year-old me is really satisfied with how that's gone. And I think that really when I was 12, what I wanted more than anything else at school was that I wanted somebody who looked like me, who had, my attributes, to walk into the room and be like, you can have a career in music. And that person at that time didn't exist, or that person at that time wasn't available to me. I never met that person. So now being able to be that person and being able to spread that message of, you don't have to, there aren't as many boxes to tick as you think to get to a place where music is your full-time job. It's not as many boxes to tick as you think to get to a place where you are happy with your career and you're happy with how it's going. It's not as many ticks as you think to be a good writer, or to be a good musician, or to have quality content, or to whatever it is. It's a lot less steps than you think, but they're all steps that you are completely blindsided by sometimes.
Yeah.
You're like, oh right, okay, I've got to do that. That's how I get to that next thing. And that is hard. It's the person you have to become to make those choices. That's the hard thing.
Yeah, and I think it seems unachievable for a lot of people, that are making music and haven't hit some of those kind of milestones. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of hear that, it is achievable. And I suppose, like you say, people need that kind of inspiration and need someone who can just kind of bring them down to earth and go, actually, people can do it. It doesn't matter who you are, you can get there.
Definitely. I think the most important thing is that you remember that it isn't a competition. And that's the thing I think everyone has to, because we have so many narratives in our head that are poisonous. We have age-related narratives, we have race-related narratives, we have gender-related narratives, we have orientation-related, we have so many narratives in our head that dictate how you can be successful, what level you can be successful to, what age you can be successful at, what age you need to be successful at before you have to give up. All this stuff, and what you realize as you go into the industry is that there are plenty of examples, constant examples of people who defy those rules. At the end of the day, a good song is a good song. A good artist is a good artist. And although it may take some people more time than others to get to the level that they want to get to, if you're clear on that level and you're consistently pushing yourself towards that level and asking the questions, and being open to the work, it's inevitable, because it is a business like anything. Once you've got your business plan right, once you've figured out how to make your business work in the industry, that's it. That's all it takes. But I'm saying that's it like it's easy. It's not easy. It takes your whole life sometimes to figure it out. But I've got so many musician friends, artist friends, who've all had great levels of success, and for some of them it's been a slow incline, and for some of them it has been a real whirlwind ride of surprise and change. And I have to say, having looked at both journeys, there is no journey that's easy. Both of those journeys are hard, and the only thing that will motivate you through that is genuine passion, genuine focus, and finding a way to look after your mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose that's a good topic to kind of touch on, because just from, obviously we've not spoken before, but just from kind of speaking to you today and stuff, it seems like there's a lot of kind of conscious thought around your music and kind of your approach to, I suppose, the industry and how you kind of go about things. And one interesting kind of thing that I read was about your single release that was due to come out during lockdown. So do you want to give us a bit of the kind of backstory about what happened with that?
So yeah, my latest single is called Life Goes On. And it was recorded, I recorded it last year with an amazing producer called Glenn Scott. And the single, in January, we set the single release for the 3rd of April. And I was, you know, we had this whole schedule. I was going to be shooting a music video in March, and we were going to be releasing the single in April. And then I got booked to support the Whitney Houston Hologram Arena Tour for the UK. So I did that tour. That was in March. So we had to move the music video recording till the end of the month. And then I got told that they were going to extend me for all of Europe. So then we're trying to figure out where we could fit that music video in, all of that. And then just before the Europe tour began, we went into lockdown. So we couldn't shoot a music video. And there were loads of problems, but we had this date in the diary and this single was going to get released. And we talked about it, and we thought, we sort of spoke about it with people in my team, with my manager at the time, with my producer, trying to figure out what is going to be the best shout. And one of the main things for me was, well, we can't really gig it. We can't gig it. We can't promote it in the normal way. Maybe we should wait. And Life Goes On, the song, is about embracing what life throws at you and moving forward positively. And it felt wrong at a time when we really need to find a way to do that, to not release that song. So we decided to stick to the date anyway. And I put a call out on social media asking people to send in footage of their daily life in quarantine to see how they were embracing what life threw at them, basically, and moving forward positively. I spoke to a guy called Vahid Gold, who was told him the idea, and he's a wicked video editor, and he was like, yeah, I'm totally up for this. I can totally do that, no problem. So I was like, okay, cool. Talked through the concept, wanted this idea of like almost like phone swipes or like an Instagram screen, just something that continuously moved, much like the concept of the song just kept going on and on and on, kind of thing. And he came up with this treatment that was so wicked and better than anything that I could have thought of, to be honest, like the animation and the way that it worked. And he was like, yeah, we're going to need about 50 videos. If we get 50 videos, I can make the video, I can do it. So I was like, okay, cool. Put the call out. Had no idea what the response was going to be, because not only are people in lockdown, but, you know, people can't even leave. By the time we were doing the video, it had gotten even tighter, and people can't even really leave their house except to do one piece of exercise a day. So it was like, no one's going to do this. Everyone's going to be bummed out. That's how I was like, I was going to be better. Over 2 weeks, so 2 and a bit weeks, we got 300 videos. We got 200 submissions, 300 videos, which is unbelievable. And I like saying it because I can't believe it. Even now, I'm like, that. And the reason it sounds, I'm not saying it, sorry, I love saying it because it sounds amazing, but not because I'm like, oh, 300 videos. Yeah. Isn't that great? It's just, it's if you were to see all of these videos, they're so positive, and it's things as simple as like people on a cycle on their bikes with their family for their one daily exercise, or people who've built like a little quarantine workspace in their shed because they're a key worker and they can't be with their family, and it's still they're waving and smiling, and it just really, for me, getting those videos in just made me really put my problems into perspective, because I was like, it could be so much harder than it is for me. You know, I'm here at home. I'm not one person in a house. I'm not, you know, there's so many things to be grateful for. And even for the people who are in more challenging positions, they're still finding things to be grateful for and positive about. And it was just that footage, as each thing came in, people writing their own choreography to the song, people, all that stuff. As that stuff rolls in, it makes you feel so much less alone and a lot less like you're doing it. You're going through something by yourself.
Yeah,
that's how I felt. And so I was like, this this video is gonna be wicked. Like by the time we got the first 20 videos came in, I was like, this is gonna be amazing. And so yeah, getting to a point where we actually couldn't physically include all of the videos was like shocking. You know, we had enough footage to make the video again and then again, you know. So I was just like blown away by the response and how many people were willing to submit stuff. So
yeah, it kind of worked out, you know, very well, really. Like, not, you know, not in sense of a kind of selfish gain from it, but it's like it actually plays into very much what the tune's about. And you know, it's I suppose it kind of puts your faith in people as well, because you know, the music scene in particular, obviously there's a lot of concern from everyone who's involved in it, particularly, you know, live stuff, events, venues, that kind of thing is like a big part of people's income and daily sort of life, really, as a musician. But something I've noticed is a lot of people are buying music during lockdown. You know, that's like a really positive thing. And you know, like you've seen from that project, people are willing to put in time and effort, even if it's difficult or if they're in a tough situation, to contribute and to collaborate and stuff.
yeah, I mean, people sent messages in like, oh, this is such a good idea. Thank you so much. This gave us something to do for the afternoon. This was so much fun. Really like the song or whatever. You know, I think that, again, it is something it's a little difficult to talk about and not sound like you're going, oh, isn't the video great? I mean, the video, I think the video is wicked because of the content, because of the people in it, because of the energy of it. But you know, the fact that the video is possible, like you say, is because of people and the fact that people were willing to, and also the trust. Like people were willing to send that footage. It could have been really naff. Like who knows? You know what I mean? It could have been awful. And they just believed that it was going to be good, and they sent their stuff. And I think that, and there was trust there. I think that you, like you say, it instills your faith. But it's one of the things that, especially from, I think my focus when I'm doing a gig, when I'm doing a live gig, is about bringing people together, getting everybody on the same wavelength, and sharing the emotional journey of the show, whether that's like upbeat and joyful or whatever, you know, deep and angsty, whatever happens, that everyone is going on that journey together at the same time. And you know, because like I said when we were talking about genres, is that I like it when boundaries get broken. I like it when people realize that there aren't as many obstacles as it feels between being strangers and being friends, or being 2 meters apart and being next to each other. The reality is we created a video that was so collective and so communal, and we were as physically far apart as we could be, and we still made it. And that to me was so much better than any video treatment that I was planning to do for that song. It's like, felt like going back to that book, just ripping out the original treatment and burning it. It's like, because this was great. And it almost feels like it was meant, you know, that this was the treatment that always was meant to be for this song, really. And so I'm glad that we still released the song.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like it was the right decision, and you know, it just kind of fell into place, really. So that's a really positive thing. One of the most positive things to come out of lockdown that I've heard. So yeah, that's really good.
Good.
I suppose on that topic, and probably, you know, not really a simple answer to this question, but have you got any upcoming plans? I suppose it's quite a difficult time to kind of know about gigs, releases.
Yeah, it's a hard one. We're still figuring it out. Because obviously what would normally happen is that an artist would, especially if working on a product, you'd have a number of releases. You'd have like, you know, my next single would probably be already on pre-order by now, would be like, oh, you know, then it's coming out soon. And we've just had to kind of do a bit of reevaluating because of the state of affairs, you know, and figuring out how to fit the timeline to when we can release the album. And so, yeah, there is music. We've got loads of music, and it's coming very soon. Just need to.
That's all the people need to know.
That's all I can tell you. That's all I know. So it'll be out very soon. But I can't wait for people to hear it. And I was performing some of this new music on the Whitney tour, and the response to the music was so positive and was so great, and it's kind of gotten me through. It's because, you know, like I said, I hate interrupting a process. I hate being like, oh, actually, we've got to wait. But I just have to remind myself that it's like, it's cool. Like, think how good it will feel when you can release the music, and it's, you know, so we'll see. I'll let you know.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Well, for anyone who wants to buy your music, I guess they can go to your website, which I believe is robgreenmusic.com.
That's right. Yep. And it's also, my music is on all of the digital stores as well. So you can just search rob.green on Spotify or iTunes or whatever.
Sweet. Cool. Well, yeah, I'd encourage anyone out there to check out that video and the rest of Rob's music. Thanks a lot for joining me tonight, Rob. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. So good to speak to you. Thank you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for doing it. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of the kind of lockdown period. Hope things keep positive for you. And
yeah, you too.
Hopefully speak to you soon.
Yeah, you too. Look after yourself. And yeah,
Likewise.
see you soon. Amazing.
Take care, Rob. See you in a bit.
See you.